Yes, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. So today at ASMA, we are very happy and proud to inform you that we are here with another series of DCCE Digital Campus on Cloud for Education. The event is powered by CollPoll. So ASMA is proud to announce you that digital transformation of educational institution for new age education in post-COVID era, featuring South India, is here again. And I'm very glad and thankful to all the attendees over here, who have scheduled their time to witness and hear out what the great institutes and the leaders representing these institutions are here to speak about their innovation and initiatives which they have taken during this difficult situation of times. So I'm also happy to inform you that we also have our partner, Extra Edge. They are the associate partner in CollPoll, the powered by partner. I'm glad to inform that with their support and help, we are able to, feature such kind of series of event from last couple of few days, and this will continue with two more series where we'll be featuring the North India and East and Central India as well. To welcome over here, we have an eminent speakers in this panel today. We have Dr. S.S. Mantha, who is the Chancellor of KL University from Guntur. We have Dr. P. Shyama Rajuji. He is the Chancellor of REVA University, Bangalore. We have Dr. T. Shashi Prabhaji. She is the Vice Chancellor of Satyabhama Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai. Dr. P.V. Vijay Raghavanji. He is the Vice Chancellor of Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education Research, Chennai. Dr. Sandeep Sencheti is the Vice Chancellor of SRM Institute of Science and Technology. And Hemant Sahel, who is the founder and CEO of CollPoll. He will be the moderator of this session. To introduce the moderator of this session, Hemant Sahel, CollPoll is a Bangalore headquartered education technology company which provides a comprehensive enterprise platform for digital transformation of educational institutions. The CollPoll platform offers ERP for admissions, learning management systems with video conferencing, integration, AI-proctored examinations, workflow automations for contactless and paperless campus, and campus social network for digital engagement. So without wasting much time into the introduction, can we have Mr. Hemant Sahel himself to let us, brief about what CollPoll can help transform our businesses and how CollPoll could be digitally, helpful for leading institutions like us over here. So Hemant Sahel, can we please invite you, and I want to hear more from you about what CollPoll's initiative is.
Thanks, Chandan. Thanks for the opportunity. A big thank you to ASMA for organizing this session, and thank you to all the eminent panelists for taking out time to join. And despite the small hiccups we had because of the cyclone. And when you have such a eminent panelist, I don't really want to take too much time talking about what we do. So I'll quickly just show a quick deck on what we have been doing and also set the context for the discussion on the digital transformation, and then quickly go to the discussion and get the discussion started. I hope my screen is visible.
Yeah.
So quickly, we are a digital campus on the cloud platform. The idea is to be mobile first and completely scalable on a cloud architecture, and integrate with several other good technologies and innovation that are coming up in the world. The whole platform's digital classes and learning management system for examinations, a workflow automation engine, which is often neglected in institutions, and create a very engaged and collaborative environment in the campus. So, I'll skip this, the all traditional stuff on an ERP with the data record management and all the administrative things. This is something which we think is very unique, and we have found it a very good acceptance especially in the COVID period, which is providing an end-to-end digital learning stack, whether it's academic, management, which is curriculum, terms, other things, to a learning management system which provides you different session modes, integrates with video conferencing, has multiple types of quizzes, assignments, discussions, and all of providing a very rich set of assessments in a learning environment. And finally, the examination system, which is very comprehensive, because this is something very, very complex for any institution to manage, and providing an online testing platform to make sure that institutions don't need to go to another platform for conducting examinations. Workflow automation, we have seen this being a very important thing as we get plan to open up our campuses. So automating things like self-declaration forms or hostel services or canteen automation. So it comes with QR codes, feedbacks, integrates with the facial recognition, in-app chat and all those things. So we are very proud and happy that we are automating 1,000+ workflows with this technology right now, and we see more and more of this being used in a post-COVID era where institutions would want contactless operations. And then creating a very engaged environment. So when students were away from campus is when these tools came very useful for universities to engage their students, whether it's e-notices, digital events, doing polls and surveys to understand what the students are feeling or their opinions. So that's quickly. So we are very proud to work with some of the best institutions in the country, whether it's Ashoka, Jindal, Chitkara, Jaggan Lake City University, Manipal. We work with institutions in Dubai, Malaysia, and in Africa as well. So we're proud to be working and growing by leaps and bounds every month by month. What I want to specifically focus on today's discussion and while I'm moderating is what are the two key
would like to
levers to digital transformation, which is the academic excellence and the operational excellence. And then in academic excellence, we talk about collaborative experiential learning, high quality assessment, faculty development, and finally the student feedback, which is very important. On the operational resource utilization, how do you curate a campus? Yeah, Chandan, you were saying something?
The voice is getting fluctuated, Hemant. It's not clear. If you can, switch off your video and then speak, it would be, I guess. We can see the slide, but the voice was not clear at all.
Okay. So anyways, we'll skip that presentation and quickly jump to the discussion, Chandan. I hope I'm audible now.
Yeah, it's clear. It's clear.
Perfect. All right. So with that, let me open up the discussion by saying, introducing the topic. So we're talking about digital campus on the cloud, where there are two aspects that we would be covering in today's discussion. One is the academic excellence, which is the learning, academic administration, measuring outcomes, faculty development. And on the other side, we'll talk about operational excellence. How do we measure performance, efficiency, focus on creating the right experience for our stakeholders, and finally, how do we ensure that we are utilizing the resources at the best, because institutions, the finances are always something which are very critical. So with that, I will quickly start on the academic side, and I'll start with Dr. Mantha, who has been at the helm of affairs while he was the chairman of AICTE, and then he has played multiple senior roles in different capacities. So Dr. Mantha, I would really request you to specifically talk about that. While COVID happened, most institutions jumped onto online classes, and somehow it seems to be that the world has stopped there. So, would request you to touch upon specific areas which are just beyond mere online classes on how do you see technology playing a positive role in facilitating learning?
Yeah, good evening, Hemant and all the other, my co-panelists. Yeah, I mean, the COVID, like we all know, has disrupted the proceedings sometime in March, and it's still continuing. And several institutions, in fact, most of them, have taken to online learning, probably many without the requisite either technology or the experience or the training, so on. They quickly went on to online learning almost in a week's time and have somehow been at it. Some of the institutions have done well, who have invested in technology, and those who have not really invested in technology and so on have found it difficult to keep the game going. Having said all that, there are several challenges which have been seen. First, in the asynchronous mode of learning, and there are several lessons for the future. First, looking at a few challenges, the engagement time, as research tells us, is about 17, 18 minutes. And what is happening with the colleges is they have gone on to the online mode, but without any training. Whereas it requires a moderator, it requires the articulation of the questions, breaking up all the session into smaller units and things like that. What has been happening is a continuous monologue of maybe 45 minutes or an hour or so, and then trying to engage the students maybe in a few questions. Now, this never looked at whether the students have switched. I mean, most of the students switch off the mic, they switch off the video, and there is no way to really know whether they are really on the subject or whether they have gone out or doing something else. Now, this was a serious challenge in the online mode that we have really seen. As far as the second major challenge was reaching out to everyone on the other side. Now, there is this digital divide, and several people had bandwidth problems. They had no smart devices with them. There were no PCs. In fact, some of them left their PCs in the universities and went back, and all kinds of difficulties were there. So therefore, reaching out to everyone was also a big problem area. The third challenge that was there was the inability to get the data analytics. I mean, the LMS in which a few institutions have invested, they have all tried to make some kind of analysis. They could access some data on their students, on the performance of their faculty, and so on. But then most of the institutions, they either depended on some of the data that was forthcoming from the students themselves, or maybe some other means. And finally, the other real challenge was the content. I mean, there was very hardly good, availability of good content. People used to, teachers who used to teach in the classrooms, they turned up for teaching online. So apart from that, nothing much innovative was happening. So people like Coursera or edX or Udemy, they used to give. Some of them also announced free content and free software and things like that. So that helped some of them. And those were the challenges. And those are also the lessons for future. Moving into the future, a lot of debate will happen on the cost of education. Now, because of the data that we have today, we are able to distinguish, at least some of the institutions are able to distinguish between the what kind of learning must happen, what kind of courses can actually be taught online, which of them cannot be taught online. That kind of data is largely available today. And therefore, if those courses which can actually go online, if they can be shifted to online, even when the pandemic goes away, then can the cost come down? Is a serious debate that will really happen. And the second point of intervention going future is it possible to bring in that element of experiential learning? I mean, a lot of content that has been taught has been devoid of labs and so on. Applied sciences is not devoid of lab work and building competency-based skills and so on. So therefore, some connect must happen. Like they experimented with Northeastern University this year, is it possible to purely have one full semester of lab work and virtual, connect with the industry and things like that, and one full semester of studies and so on, and thereby also bring down the time that you require to complete a degree? Is it possible to reduce that time to less than 4 years and things like that? These are some serious questions that will happen because of the distance online learning mode and some of the advantages that you have within that space, apart from the things like learning at one's own pace and so on. And finally, the future will also look seriously at personalized learning. Is it possible to become a completely student-centric approach, and where you could pick up a good mathematics program from TIFR, and a good physics program from IIT Delhi, and artificial intelligence from maybe IIT Hyderabad, things like that, and put them all together and make one's own degrees and diplomas and so on. Now, this is perfectly possible because of the NEP intervention of multi-point entry exit and the academic credit bank concept and so on. So there are a lot of good things happening. There are, of course, challenges in terms of using technology, and going future, these are some of the issues that I believe people will really talk about. Thank you. And I'll come back maybe at a later time when the others have had their share of comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Mantha ji. Quickly, moving to Dr. Shashi Prabha ji, that, while students were actually back at home, one of the toughest thing was how do you conduct examinations, because you don't want to impact the academic cycle. You don't want students who are graduating, industry is waiting for them, or students who need to go to the next semesters now. Would want to hear from you on how did you handle the digital examinations, the challenge that was there in front of almost all the institutions. And do you think there is merit in conducting at least partially examinations, even going forward, using technology and not the physical way, which seems to be very, very, resource intensive?
Yes, sir. See, we have conducted classes. In the pending classes in the month of March and April we covered, and we conducted the examination also. We conducted project by voice examination. So everything in online. And as usual, in the month of June, we have given the provisional certificate for the final years, and we conducted convocation also in the month of September. So like that, with the support of the technology, we could able to complete our academic session successfully. But still, now also the same thing is continuing, but there are laboratory sessions we need to concentrate. So the hardcore engineering subjects of mechanical engineering, civil engineering, biotechnology, and other wet lab and research activities needs to be done in person. So partially our scientific team is working and research scholars are working partially, but mainly the UG students are concerned. And the computer science branch is going well because almost all the laboratories of computer science engineering we are able to conduct in online. So with the use of remote lab facilities and the technologies, we could able to make it. Almost all the labs we are conducting the computer science and partially in electronics and communication also. Only in mechanical and other wet lab related laboratories, we are finding it difficult. And those laboratories alone, we thought of once the situation resumes, we thought of conducting those classes. Otherwise, we could able to conduct periodic assessments, and then now we have planned for conducting this semester, current semester, in semester examination also in online mode. So this is how we are going. So of course, with the support of we have made a polling to the students. So 70% of the students are showing interest in attending classes in online. So there is another positive sign we could able to see from the students. They are also interested to attend the classes in their convenience at their home. But still, it won't be nice if we are going to continue like this. So once the situation resumes, we thought of beginning the classes mainly for the laboratory sessions and then for other subsequent classes. That's our plan.
Okay, thanks so much for your opening remarks, Dr. Shashi Prabha ji. Quickly, moving to Dr. Raju ji, institutions first had to convince the students that look, education can happen remotely, we can do it digitally, and we were sort of, now there's another challenge that, let's say if we are successful in establishing this, now the challenge is that how do we plan to get students back and tell them that, no, you know what, online education is not that great, and you need to come back physically to campus to and obviously there is the life, I would say, campus life part to a college experience. So what I want to ask you and have your opening remarks is, post COVID, how do you see what was conducted in this COVID era, whether it is online examination, online classes, online engagement? Do you see that sticking around? Do you think there is value in keeping that as is to a large extent, and then focus on what is the best way we can utilize the physical time in the campus, which is beyond the the instructional activities that we were doing earlier, or just the physical examination activities we were doing, obviously wet laboratory aside? What do you see is the parts that will stay intact and continue and have value even going forward?
Good evening to all the panelists. Thanks for the opportunity. I will share how we conducted in the university once the lockdown announced. First, we gave the training for the teachers, which was very much interested. Having the online classes is not is painful for students as well as teachers. First, we trained. The advantage in REVA was, we from last 5 years, we made it a point by 2020, the university should become totally digital. That helped us a lot to switch over from offline to online immediately, just giving some 2-3 days training to teachers. And in the meantime, we requested and tried to address all the parents to provide the kids with two things. What is uh, at least laptops or smartphones and network. These are the two challenges. Yes, as Dr. Mantha rightly told, most of them left some of their material like laptop or smartphones or tabs in their universities, that is in hostels. Those challenges also they faced. In spite of all these things, we at REVA definitely could able to reach and successfully conducted online classes to extent of 95%. And immediately we could able to complete the final semester examination for final semester year, and only 15 to 20 days delayed as per our schedule, and completed the final semester examination, final year students, and continued the other semester examinations also. Rest of things, they are totally online, contactless. These things are happening. Yes, this is a challenging year, challenging semester, I can say, particularly this semester, and ongoing also for next semester will be another 1 month or 2 months. And in REVA, we have all preparations in place. If at all continues this COVID-19, we have expanded our areas, that is the kitchen area, dining area, food court area, even for example, academic infrastructure, so that if at all it continues, to have taking the precautions, that is maintaining social distance, and what is that, contactless taps, everything for that matter, we did like that. And we are totally prepared to go offline, online, however the students and parents opts.
Thank you for your opening remarks, Dr. Shyama ji. Going to Dr. Sancheti ji, I'm just imagining the challenge that is there in front of you. You have almost, I think, what, 25, 29, how many thousand students who are, let's say, colleges reopened. So you have to plan for that many number of students to physically be back, and you have to make sure there is safety, there is no academic processes are disturbed, So I'm very keen to learn what plans do you have. Let's say February we are opening, the campuses. What plan do you have? What are you, planning differently this time?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Hemanji. Thank you, Mr. Chandan. Thank you, Asma, for this opportunity, and also rescheduling the activity in tune with the impact of cyclone. So very happy to join the other panelists here. Before answering your point, Hemanji, about the reopening in terms of physical hostel things, a few comments on general things. Number one, as you divided the session into kind of two major things, academic excellence and operational excellence, I would say that at this point of time, we are not necessarily talking of excellence. We are talking of survival, not only in academics, but in life also. Every now and then we find that how people are getting knocked down or impacted, if not knocked down. And therefore, it's more of a survival. And therefore, whether it's us or the students, everyone understands the compromise which is being made. And we should not necessarily, some of us do inflate that, oh, we are not taking care of the quality and we are compromising on this and that. I think if at all I have to classify where was the compromise was before COVID for 5 years that we hardly accepted technology or any technology company or ed tech that may include CollPoll or anyone for that matter. We said, no, we are okay physically. Our teachers can do the job. We need eye contact, physical, this, that, whatever. We shunned technology for a long time. And as a result, this has happened and it's now forcing the technology inside. So let's accept that this is a transitory phase. Anything which we claim here we have done, maybe not towards excellence, but towards survival or continuity. Because had we not done this online business, obviously the loss would have been to the institutions that they would not have survived paying the salary and all that for teachers or whatever. And the students would have been at a much bigger loss because they would have lost 1 year of their life. Why should we lose if we can do something? And therefore, you talked about another word called asynchronous. Fine, synchronous, asynchronous, I'm not bothered because we want student centricity. And therefore, I will decide what I want to do, whether I want to do a synchronous learning or asynchronous learning. I would rather say some new words here. Number one, the teaching learning has become asymmetric now. Earlier, we used to have symmetricity, 6 theory courses, 3 laboratory courses, 1 this, 1 that, total credits 25, total hours 30, 25. Everything was symmetric, distributed evenly across 8 semesters for engineering. This was symmetry. The life has become asymmetric now, and that's the true life, let me tell you. You don't eat the same food, same time, same quantity, in same way, at same sitting. No, there is a complete high order of asymmetricity in your life. When you drive, when you eat, when you wear clothes or whatever it may be, it's always like that. It's now creeping in teaching. Earlier, you can possibly say that we thought by physical contact, we had a bi-directional teaching. A student can speak to teacher and the teacher can speak to students. But the fact of the matter is, and I've been a teacher for a long time, so I can say that there'll be 1 or 2 or very few students in a class of 60 who would speak. And there was no bi-directionality. Most of them would keep their heads down, even if you ask them a question or look at them. And they may, today we are worried that if someone is in online mode, he may switch off the camera and go away. What happens if he's in the class and switch off his mind or attention and goes to sleep, or even if he doesn't sleep, he just doesn't listen to what teacher is saying. So that is their will, their choice. And therefore, once again, this bi-directionality was not there and will not be there. These are the terms we use for communication in electronics, and therefore I've used them here in terms of symmetricity or full duplex or bi-directional and all that. And therefore, I would not curse online as a poor method or a superior method as an offline or vice versa. For me, it is one's choice. It is one's this thing. I can only give you 1 or 2 points here that once technology comes in our life, it is not easy to take it away. I do not know how many examples I have to give you from automobile to mobile. Can you leave anything, Mr. Hemant or Mr. Chandan? Can you leave your kitchen without gadgets? Can you leave your office or maybe your living room without any gadgets? I think you will have dozens of gadgets and maybe half a dozen remotes to operate them. Can you live without that? I think the same is going to be the state of education. Technology will come in a big way. However, in the age of this also, a lot of people say, I don't want to use mobile. It's there. Well, I don't want to use automobile. I will drive it in my next life. A lot of people have taken such pledges. Let them be. So it is going to be a choice of the learner or the teacher or the setup or the overall requirement. What would it be? However, the positive sides of this experiment or this force is that attendances have improved. And attendances, whether they are very attentive or not, I'm saying physical attendance, which we are seeking, has improved. In most cases in our classes, it's 90% or no less than 85%. In many cases, above 90%, also 93, 95. People just log in because they have nothing much to do. Maybe they're sitting free at home. Maybe they think by doing this, they may gain something. That's fine. There was also talk about this. What will be post-COVID? Would we again come to offline? I think that was a pointer you were making in earlier questions. Tell me that one thing, that we were not allowing mobiles anywhere in the campuses also. There are many campuses who said mobiles are not allowed. If you talk on mobile, you can be fined and mobiles can be confiscated and all those things were there. Now tell me, can you say to any student that you will come inside a class without a device? I would doubt. I would not dare to do that as a vice chancellor. And the moment he comes inside with a device, whether it's a mobile or a laptop or an iPad, doesn't matter, or a tab, doesn't matter. He may still sit in my class in offline mode, but he may still look at everything which I'm teaching through the online mode. He may still look at the reference material which I'm trying to speak in the class in a different way. And therefore, online is going to be a permanent thing, whether you run offline classes or you run online classes, that's for sure. And it gives the flexibility, as Mantha was making a mention. I'm part of that ABC thing, Academic Bank of Credit, which is defining it and which actually seeded what you call multiple entry, multiple exit scheme. So I think that's very, very good. Madam Sashi Prabha was saying that we have done labs, computer science related things, virtual lab. Let me tell you, 10 years back, we put a lot of efforts to put the virtual labs. There were no takers. Now there is a big queue for takers. Everyone wants a virtual lab. What will happen only with the courses and engineering and all that? So those things are happening. And once they come, see the beauty of virtual lab. Typically a lab which you create in an institution where some norms will come from AICT, UGC, various bodies will create it. Huge investment. In a week, that lab will be used 4 hours, 2 hours, 6 hours, maybe 10, 12 hours. Not more than that typically, except for something very basic. Now imagine that they will be used 24/7 in a week and see the potential of cost coming down. See the potential of a student repeating those experiments any number of times unless they perfect it or understand it. See that we can force that they can do, they have to do it individually. Make sure that they cannot damage the equipment because there is a control in the software that I cannot apply more than a certain pressure or voltage or whatever it may be. So there is a huge amount of beauty which is sitting in that. And we ourselves have factored out and found out that 60% of our labs are already happening right now through virtual modes. There are institutions who are helping. There are a dozen institutions who have made very, very good V labs, even in mechanical and other domains. But there are certain domains which cannot do wet labs in biochemistry area or maybe in hotel management, in agriculture. Some things may not happen. We agree. So life is not so simple that you can just define it by either 0 or 1. It has to be many 254 gray states in between to define that particular logic, in my opinion. So that's my general take. I'm sorry I've taken time to give my viewpoint because otherwise I'll not feel very comfortable with what's happening and why it's happening. Now coming to the hostel side, I think this is the most important.
Not just hostel, Dr. Sancheti ji. My question was in general.
Yeah, so
there is no
residential parts are the critical. See, what we can do with the floating population, nothing much. You can check their temperature. You can have the high-speed ultra sensor detective, which can, the moment you cross the door, it will tell your temperature, nothing better than that. You can also capture their image and their name and their photo, if you so wish, by something, so that you can catch them later if they run away, that, hey, you have a fever or you have your temperature above that. Nothing more can be done. Can you do in a campus of 30,000, 20,000 as numbers you were saying? My campus is around 35,000. What can I do? Please try to imagine. I can only check the temperature. I can do some randomization of testing something, but that's also not going to be good because it works on your psychology. The real impact is on the hostelers. When they come here, we are supposed to own them. We become their parents. Parents depend upon them for their good health or their whatever well-being. And in that case, what we can do, obviously the cost is going to be very high. If the ratios that in a 2-seater room, 1 person is there, in a 3-seater room, we cannot have 1.5 person. Once again, it is 1 person. The cost is going to double up. The cost, as Shyama Raju Sahab was saying, that they have built up new campus, or not new campus, new facilities to take care of social distancing. While it's very good that it could be done, but imagine that the cost of it, are we going to charge 1.5 times or 2 times, sir? I don't think so. Do you think in next phase, when a lot of people will decide to go for online, as I was telling you, obviously the need for such infrastructure will be less. So the new infrastructure will possibly need will be purely digital, the bandwidths, the connectivity, the servers, the data centers, the backups, the various other devices, IoT, whatever those may be. And then of course the digital tools which are required in the hands of students and all that. We will possibly not invest much on brick and mortar. We'll have to convert some of the hostels into academic spaces as and when we need them, and cut down. And why I'm saying that, I have been educated outside India, and I've seen many parts of the world, advanced institutions. They don't own the campuses like we own, fully walled 300, 400, 500 acres of campuses, as if we are living in our own palaces. And the students also get sometimes fancy of that everything should be available to them at the knock of a button, or a requirement that water is not there, electricity. When they live in the society, they know how to live, how to survive, how to serve a PG where they are living. And therefore, hostel will be a big challenge. What we are finding an answer right now is doing a completely staggered fashion of this thing. We'll first make sure that they come, they do their laboratory part, if they can do, and if they cannot do, we'll do the asymmetry of the semesters. One semester will be more loaded, one will be less loaded. One will be loaded with theory, another will be loaded with more practice. Asymmetry will come into that. But supposedly, if we are able to maintain symmetry, we will do the staggering. We are intending to call the final years around today only, just a couple of hours back, we have received the information. Madam Sashi Prabha, it will be news to you maybe, that from 9th onwards, Tamil Nadu government has allowed us to reopen the campuses once again. It was closed 15 days back till 2nd of December, and we were expecting. So today, only 2 hours back, we have got this information.
Yes, sir. Even medical colleges, they are going to start from
medical is a different. Medical doesn't come under their control, and medical is an essential. So we are running all through last 6 months. But I'm saying in general for others. So we'll start the final years on 9th of December in a certain fashion. We will possibly 9th or 15th of December, and then we'll run them for 15 days, do all practice, maybe do many examinations, give them projects and assignments, and say them thank you, leave them. And if that experiment is successful, we intend to call the first years, because they are dying hard to come to college. New aura, new friends, new people, new teachers, new colleges, everything. And we'll bring them, and then finally we'll bring them 2nd years and 3rd years. And by that time, a lot of things will be known to each other. However, we expect a lot of students and their parents will still refuse to come. And therefore, we'll have to run full duplex, full parallel mode of offline and online, both. But whatever may be the final answer, I'll conclude with that. It is our intent that something like 40 to 50% of our teaching, the theory things, would go online henceforth. That is what we are thinking. Whether you sit in the garden outside the building or outside the classroom or in your hostel or your home, doesn't matter. We will still teach you theory courses, some of them, so that we are prepared for any eventuality if it continues or if it happens again. God forbid, it should not happen, but if it happens again, we should be prepared for that. And one more thing, life after your graduation is mostly going to be digital. Already you are giving a leeway to, okay, work from home is allowed, but why not then education from home? What is wrong with it? Okay, when everything else in life is digital, your banking, your travel, various other things, whatever, then obviously this educational forum should also help students learn what you call the digital modes of things. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanchetaji, for your wonderful opening remarks. And I think you touched multiple facets of what everybody is now going through. So I go back to Dr. Manthaji. And I think, the whole effort of trying to replicate a physical campus a digital way is futile. Rather than putting our efforts to trying to do copy the same, what I've been hearing, and we work with all diverse set of institutions, one which are very progressive, thinking very aloud, and giving students the option of what kind of assessments they would want and flexibility. On the other side, there are some institutions which are still stuck to saying, how can I conduct attendance online? So there is a extremes. How do you see that we can focus on what technology offers best? A physical environment, what it offers is people meeting each other, the bonds that get formed, that lifelong learning, that the personality development, which I think is very difficult to mimic in an online environment. But online environment offers its own advantages. uh, do you think that's something institutions are thinking? Your personal views, both as a chancellor as well as a education policy maker, do you think institutions are thinking in that direction, that what's the best we can get out of technology, and then whenever we open we want to keep that? And what are your specific thoughts on what is it that we should continue to focus on in the online model?
I mean, first of all, I believe that the current experiment of going online has brought about several new ideas, and people have been innovating in these probably 8, 9 months, much more than they probably have ever innovated. And people have tried to find out newer ways of reaching out to people, and so on. Uh, Having said all that, I personally believe that the best way to learn is I mean, doing the old, using the old method of teacher student kind of learning, where there is an exchange of ideas, where there are exchange of thoughts, and so on. Now, the online business has actually cut off the campus life. Our learning is not only acquiring some knowledge in some subject and so on. There is much more to learning that happens on a campus and which has been completely cut off. Like, for example, when you come on the campus, it's those small fights that teach you the conflict management. It's the way you interact within your hostel rooms with people who have come from diverse backgrounds. It's the way you interact with them that brings that additional learning to your personality. So therefore, there is a whole lot of development that happens outside gathering knowledge that is essential. I mean, that part of it can be done online, though not everything in an applied science medium. Like there are subjects, there are courses where you need to gather hands-on skills, and therefore you need to go and see what it means and so on. So that part of the learning probably would be difficult to mimic in an online mode. So therefore, technology, yes, technology. A lot of technology is already being used. This pandemic has only compressed the adoption cycles, the development cycles of online education. It was happening in bits and pieces earlier, but now people have been forced to do that. Now, as far as going into future, some of the best practices that probably we can gather from the experience that we have today is one part of it is how do you build that extra requirement from a student's perspective in terms of his employability, his employment, and so on. I mean, if you see the employment markets, what is actually happening is in the earlier days we used to have a pyramid-like structure, where you need a low-skilled employees at the base and many numbers in terms of numbers, many of them, and as you go higher and higher, you have a need of lesser number of people, and so on. But with technology coming in, what is happening is that base is getting shrunk. I mean, it's therefore the number of people required at the base are also becoming less. So like you have intelligent agents and, use of AI, use of ML, machine learning, and so on. So these things have made a great impact on the employment or employability of students. And what is happening is you need people with higher order skills even when you are entering the system. And that is where the additional courses which are available with most of these professional content providers and so on, like, there are so many of them. And that helps. So therefore, the curriculum must undergo a change in terms of building the extra content that makes the students much better employable and so on, and they can be seamlessly built into an online structure and so on. So therefore those additional skills can be brought in fact, the students, many of the students have gone into that mode even in the last 6 months. Apart from what is being done from the college side, they themselves have registered for, let's say, Coursera, data analytics, or those kind of business analytics, or things like, or AI and so on. And they have gained, I believe, good experience in terms of even applying such technology. So that is certainly one area which probably would would continue to happen in times to come. As far as the examinations and things like that are concerned, of course there are challenges and so on. But then the technology also is evolving. The devices that are available, the proctored methods that are available, these are all extremely good interventions. And though they see no change would ever be done in a environment which is business as usual. Every change will seek a re-engineering to happen. So this pandemic has brought in change, not by design, but by, it has forced change upon people, and therefore people have to adopt to the new things that are happening, adopt the technology that is there, and so on. Now, in future, what could possibly what we can possibly take from this experiment that has been happening for the last 8-9 months is how best you can get across to a student in terms of his learning outcomes and the way you assess him. The assessment methods have to undergo a change. They can't be the old kind of paper pencil based exams, or even open book exams. Open book exams also have their own areas of concern and so on. So therefore, the entire understanding of learning of a subject, for example, if it's a 4-credit program, you possibly no longer can have 40-45 hours taught at one stretch and one after an hour after an hour and things like that. So they have to, even an hour has to be broken down into much smaller segments, and there's certain kind of assessment happening after that in order to understand the student whether he has learned the outcomes at that end of the 10-15 hours, and so on. So therefore, a lot of pedagogy has to change, a lot of assessment methods have to change, and they have to be system institutionalized by the use of technology. A lot of technology is available to conduct exams. That people use webcams, and they also use a lot of image processing to prevent the students from cheating and things like that. So there is a lot of technology available, but at what cost? So therefore, we have 45,000 colleges and almost 1,000 universities we have. Is it possible that all these people will invest in a so-called robust LMS, and they will all invest in their money to subscribe to courses from Coursera or edX or whatever? So that I don't think is going to happen. So therefore, but if you have to give the better things that are happening to all the numbers that we have, something else must happen. So we must have a collaborative learning, which will probably come in a big way in times to come. Now, what is several things are already disrupted. Is it really necessary to have the full complement of faculty I'm only talking from an academic perspective. Not there are many other aspects of education. So is it possible to create good content from a good physics teacher in a certain institute, good mathematics content from another institute, and pool them all and let the government provide a LMS which they create multiple instances for colleges and so on. So each college goes on the same LMS, sees their instance, and therefore it kind of belongs to them, and use a similar content that's available on the the portal. Now, which means you have to collaborate to bring the costs down. It means a different kind of model working, because we have almost 90% of the education in the private sector. So whether all these people will come together and to share resources to get the costs down, that's a very big question to answer. But on the other side, is it possible that every one of them will invest in this? That also is a big question mark. So therefore, all these areas have been thrown open now because of the new experiment that we are doing. But there is no denying the fact that technology is here to stay. And like Sanjay Sahab said, the gadgets, they just don't go away, they all remain. And therefore, we must change ourselves and the way we think and the way we interact with the systems and the way we connect with the students, with the outside world, the society, and so on. But yes, the pandemic will go out after maybe some time. But at that time, I would prefer that students come back and enjoy that campus life, at least a part of the time. I know everything will not be the same again. And therefore, that's probably the way to design our future. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. I think that's what, to some extent, government was trying to do with SWAYAM, and then allowing SWAYAM to be integrated into LMS. And a lot of people like us are also working on how the best model to integrate SWAYAM into the existing LMS. Plus, there's a lot of, I think, innovation happening on the pricing models, because like you rightly mentioned, there is a larger set of institutions who will have affordability issues. So what's the best models to accommodate all kinds of institutions? Quickly moving to Dr. Shashi Prabhaji, and the question is, see, one of the benefits of technology is the analytics it provides. Because unlike in a physical environment where data is lost, a digital environment keeps capturing that data, and that data can get converted into. So if you look at even video conferencing tools, they are started providing an amazing insights on the attention a student is, providing, or a lot of analytics we do on student aspirations. We do analytics on the failure rates or risk students who are at risk. So would want your thoughts on the use of analytics in institutions. Have institutions now being more, so earlier, as you know, institutions were more known to be more, I would say, wisdom driven, that 10 people sit inside a room and take a decision on what is right or wrong. And now we are seeing there is a lot more data driven approach to decision making. So what are your thoughts on how best analytics can be utilized by institutions, and how can we be more data driven?
It's a very good question, sir. So, in India is concerned, I think right from the national institutions to the private institutions in the country are not actually using proper data, are not maintaining the data properly because of the lack of technology support as well as the lack of awareness. I would say it's a lack of awareness. And if you see this, our own authorities concerned, say for example, when we submit data for ASCP portal or ASHE portal, or everybody are asking data differently for their requirements. So, and say accreditation and other kind of reports, if you want to submit for NARF rankings, ratings, and other international rankings, ratings, everywhere people are asking data differently, and then institutions also, whenever they're asking, we prepare data and we submit data. So it's a lot of human power is wasted in preparing the data as per the requirements of the different stakeholders. So, and the science behind the data, nobody is having the awareness and nobody is ready to spend time and money in retrieving data or maintaining the data properly. Okay. So with the support of your people like the CollPoll and other similar kind of companies, you can actually evolve with a good common platform or common solution to the institution, so that the institution, because almost all institutions are going to generate the same kind of data, similar kind of data only. Maybe the intents of the data differs from one parameter to another parameter. Otherwise, almost all institutions are in the similar category, are producing the same kind of data. So that template can be made by the industries, and that can be adapted with the support of the universities, at least a trial basis. If we can able to come out with some solutions, so we the institutions are ready to take it forward and do it along with you. So this is my humble opinion, because the data collection process is a really a tedious process as the administrators are concerned in the institutions. And then if you see this, our ranking bodies like NARF. So NARF data we are submitting differently. For Times Square Education data we are submitting differently. For QS ratings differently. So like that, everywhere we have to give data differently for different kind of purposes. So, but ultimately the data remains the same. But different formats and the different way we are submitting data, that needs to be standardized with the support of technology people. It will be really a help for the institutions like us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shashi Prabhaji. Quickly going to Dr. Raju ji, you are a very successful entrepreneur as well in the space of real estate. And just yesterday, day before yesterday, I think I was in a conversation with Dr. Sancheti ji, was also there, a part of a summit. And I remember one of the seniors, university leader, saying that this year they've almost spending the 75% of their real estate budget that they had on infrastructure, on an IT infrastructure. And I'm specifically asking because you're also a very successful real estate entrepreneur. Do you think in education, obviously institutions have invested in amazing campuses, and I think everybody in this panel has extremely good campus. Do you think IT is if not more, at least an equally important infrastructure going forward as earlier real estate infrastructure or a physical infrastructure in campuses would be, when institutions would invest in fancy swimming pools, gymnasiums, hostels? Do you think that's the same thing now institutions are going after, where they have to showcase, look, I've got all these technologies in my campus to facilitate learning or the experience for you?
Yeah, this is a nice question for me. Yes, there are challenges in infrastructure, also physical infrastructure. As my experience in this from last 8 months, how companies are thinking. We expected, actually, we have leased out about almost 200 million square foot for various multinational companies. We expected at least some 30, 40 million square foot will become vacant. That didn't happen. Yes, initially that thing was there. With us, only 2 million square foot people wanted to reduce. That's all. Otherwise, now again, it is looks like in the areas where we have in Bangalore, Chennai, and Hyderabad. Hyderabad, it is picking up actually. I can say no, nobody vacated. There is demand for our facilities. Yes, recently we signed with Wells Fargo more than some 4 million square foot there. That is going on. Then yes, as far as we are concerned, we are not facing that much of threat how it was 6 months back. And now from last 1 month, I can say it is little bit I can say settled. If you ask me, the infrastructure in educational field, as rightly said by Dr. Sandeep Chin, really we are because we don't know how it will face. Yes, this cost, that is having the three-seater in one room, and now we have to accommodate only one person. It is almost 3 times the cost. Like that everywhere. Now one side, we are not receiving coming revenue is not coming because people are not paying a fee. At the same time, you have to invest more and increase the area to really, if you continue, if pandemic continues for a few more months, to attract students and give the comfort to the students as well as parents. And otherwise, they will lose the confidence on offline examinations, offline classes, all these things. To give the comfort and confidence for students and parents, definitely again we invested and increasing the areas of the academic infrastructure as well as the hostel infrastructure and also the other facilities. This is also a big challenge. Why I am telling this? Because we are from business to we have ventured into education. Here, of course, with the great difficulty, we are diverting funds and creating the infrastructure without compromising, because let us not compromise on giving the facilities in the interest of the health and the risk of the students and parents. This is how we are going ahead. Yes, it is a big challenge, both to have students in the campus and online classes. Even for online, even though we are from last 5 years, we are investing on technology to become digital, digitalize 100%. We did this, but still a lot of investments gone into that.
Thank you, Dr. Shyama Rajuji, on and definitely you shared some very valid facts on that that how infrastructure is actually not going out of I would say requirements. It's almost taken a little bit hit, come back. Same as physical environment, and like Dr. Mantha ji was saying, that there is a huge value in a physical campus, of the learning that happens when people meet each other. There's a cultural sort of journey to learning journey to everybody. In fact, I studied in southern India, coming from north, and I've been living in Bangalore for last 10 years now. I think the first time I landed, and this is on the lighter side, when I landed in Tamil Nadu, when I studied 4 years. I remember confusing Tair Sadam for Kheer, and having the first bite, and then I know that how 4 years made me far better person when you are in a physical environment where people come from different cultures, different economic backgrounds, and that learning. And that's exactly my question to Dr. Sancheti ji, that how do we replace that value of a physical environment where there's so much happening, so much learning, so much happening, and even if you open our campuses with the kind of social distancing we will have to maintain, the safety norms we will have to maintain, we will not really be able to offer that to our students. So how are we really going to compensate for that?
It's a slightly difficult one, Hemanji, for me. I didn't taste that kheer which you are supposed to eat, so difficult one for me. The point here is, I'll take you back to one or two points you were making earlier. See, till now our education has been one size fits all. You want to come to SRM, you want to go to REVA, you want to go to Satyabama. This is the course, this is the time, this is the nomenclature, take it or leave it. This is the fee, everything is there. Now this is all going to change. In the same fashion, everyone will decide whether online is great or offline is great. Tell me, if I am a differently abled person, what will be great for me? Tell me, if I have to cut down my cost of education, IITs and NITs can force you to come and reside in the campus, and therefore you pay hostel fee and food. But I may be living 50 kilometers away from that particular institution, and my parents need me because I'm the lone child and they may be elderly or whatever. Shouldn't I be living there and saving the cost also? So it is one's will what is right for him or her. You want more physical contact, you will get a lot of physical contact. You go to pubs and bars and various other things. You'll go to stadiums and anything where you can pay. See, the point is not that. Many people like to watch cricket match only on TV because they get the finer details. They can replay everything they wish. But when you go to a stadium, and I've done many a times by paying a heavy price, I would hardly know if the ball has spun or a wicket has gone. Only after someone cheers and jeers, I'll know something happened. I'll ask my neighbor what happened, and he will try to again see the screen, the same electronic mode, to see what is happening inside. The point is, nothing is right, nothing is wrong, nothing is perfect. You also asked one question about technology. What benefits technology will bring? Yes, it will bring something wrong also, but benefits, if I have to say so, I'll possibly say technology in long run always has a potential to bring down the cost. The cost of education in India is now seemingly high. Looking at the India's per capita income, cost outside India is also very, very high. Till yesterday, I could not have done a course from Stanford without paying a heavy price, but your MOOCs and your support and online will possibly give it to me free also, if I want to say that I have learned this course from, let's say, Stanford, Harvard, Oxford, whatever it might be. I may not have the certificate, but you ask me any damn thing and I'll satisfy you that I have known that teacher, I have known that style, I have known those case studies which they teach, I will have it. And therefore, technology will have the potential to cut down the cost. What has happened with the mobile? They've gone dirt cheap. What has happened with this energy? Solar is becoming dirt cheap, 3 rupees a unit. What is going to happen with the transportation, with electrical vehicles and free energy, more or less? It's going to be dirt cheap. What is technology doing? Cutting the cost in general, not immediately, not linearly, not that way you want it, but over a long period of time, depending upon the scale and maturity, it happens. It also saves your time. Time is also money. If I don't have to travel 1 hour from Chennai city to come to SRM and then go 1 hour and also having some risk and getting this thing, I also save a lot of time because I have a lot of day scholars also coming. 20,000 day scholars come to me daily. So you can imagine that how much time they will save and where they can use it and how they can use it. Left to them, whether they are in the sports ground or cinema hall or wherever they might be. The most typically important for me would be that as a teacher, you give me same subject for 3 sections, 3 classes, Hemanji. I will do my first effort and I'll probably do my best effort. Next time when I go and I try to repeat the same thing, you ask me the same question again in this panel and you will find I'm getting bored. So same way I'll get bored when I do the second class, and when I do the third, it's dying kind of a thing, decaying. My explanation, interest, intensity is decaying. So in our teaching, if there is no much of repeatability, reliability, and reproducibility, technology mostly gives all that. And therefore, technology is a kind of big feature. When it comes to physical, that experiential learning, whatever it is, one has to adopt to a newer methods. Social media, I think the conference has been supported by ASMA, and I need not go into the full name of ASMA, adoption of social media and academics. Do you think social media is a physical media or is it an electronic media? The very fact that this agency came much earlier prior to the COVID speaks volumes about that how academics has to adopt social media differently. So yes, those interactive things, yes, those are there. Something which will come through social media only. When I blog, when I write, how sensibly I write, what people react, I get everyone's reaction. I get feedback for every opinion of mine. I can ask very easily questions to anyone. Earlier, as a student, I was fearful that if I ask questions to my teachers, it will be difficult. I can simply write one line on the online medium now and disappear. And if the answer comes, it's fine. And therefore, teaching, learning, or the experience gaining is now going to change. Everything, as I've been saying, for example, if a lot of us are pensioners or maybe pensioners, let's say, let's agree to that. Pensioners always had the fancy to go to bank, count their money, every single penny. You must have seen in your family, Hemanji, and others also, that they have big fancy for that. But today, banks are not welcoming the pensioners here. They say everything is electronic, you can do it at home. So their physical things have changed. So what I'm saying is many things have changed for good or bad. I'm not saying, but it will be now a person-centric. I will decide my fate, you will decide your fate, and therefore teaching learning will become more intensive, interaction will become more intensive. There will not be any dearth of this. If I have more time and I have more money, I'll possibly play sports, I'll possibly do other activities which may be of different nature to make me learn. And final word on technology. Today we are discussing, everything which we are discussing is for an age group of 18 to 25. But do you think that is the only age of learning and gaining degrees or whatever? The age has gone up to 75 now, possibly. And do you think after 25, Sandeep Sancheti will be ever able to come to a class to sit in one's class and then gain another degree or new knowledge? No. And therefore, once again, the newer methods clearly tell, or the newer requirements clearly tell us that you will have to use the online methods extensively. The last example I can give you is the IT domain. If I am an IT graduate, I've taken admission today, and 4 years down the line, I graduate. By the time I go to job, my requirements will be very different from what I have been taught here in first year, second year. And by the time I switch to next job in 2 years, the requirements will be completely different. Do you think they're coming to classes to us to study that subject again, or are they doing it on their own? And therefore, physical has its significance. Who denies that? We exist because we are physical, but there is limit, and with time it is changing, and let's accept and embrace that change is my suggestion, whether it is education or anything in life. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Sanjay. Wonderful remarks, and I think we've run out of time, so I'll just take 5 minutes, 4 minutes rather, because you have 4 panelists, and I totally agree with you on that. That whole paradigm is changing. There are institutions who are looking progressively. For example, we've been working for last 5 years with the Open Jindal Global University, and they've just launched an online degree now, which means, like you rightly mentioned, that they're going beyond that 18 to 25 or 27 age group to people who might actually be 35 or 40 or 50 when want to get new skills or get a degree, which was earlier limited to only distance education. And even distance education is now going the digital way. We just went live with the MIT School of Distance Education there. So my quick thoughts, question to all 4 of you, and maybe take less than a minute to answer that. One thing that you see will be different going forward with whatever change we have seen in education, technology, no technology, but one major change that you see is going to be there going forward in our education system. So we'll start with Dr. Shashi Prabhaji, then Dr. Mantha ji, Dr. Raju ji, and we'll have the final word with Dr. Sancheti ji.
So surely the blended learning is going to happen. So because we cannot go in a conventional way, so we got to surely adopt this technological way. So I hope at least 70% will go in online, 30% in offline. That is going to come permanently. and not this percentage differs. Maybe it is 80-20 or that differs. So that is surely that is going to come. And then this globalization or internationalization is going to come. Now the semester abroad programs, students have to go to other countries for 6 months, their travel cost and their credits to be transferred there. So though they are getting an experience of staying in another country and they are studying different, but the 4 subjects they can now also, yeah, whatever may be the number of subjects, they can able to study with the collaborating institutions in abroad, so that the credits can be transferred. So because of this post-COVID is going to have a lot of international collaboration, and the faculty, as Sanjay sir told, the same way the faculty from other foreign institutions, Stanford professors class, we can able to see in our classrooms as well. So this is going to happen, and sure, a lot of things are going to change, and we should able to adapt with the support of technologies always.
Thank you. So use blended learning and internationalization are the 2 key points. Dr. Mantha ji, over to you.
I mean, the only thing that we all have seen is that change, will keep happening, and that will push us to different ways of looking at life. And what will happen is technology will be there to stay. It was always there. Now it will manifest in different ways, and online education will become a part of the synchronous mode of learning. At what percentages, that could be debatable, but at some point of time, probably 50% of face-to-face and 50% of online kind of thing will come to stay. Having said that, the online education itself will evolve into different and manifest itself into different forms of online education. And one of the key factors in that is personalized learning. So students will be, today we operate more or less a faculty-centric kind of systems. So tomorrow it will probably be a student-centric learning where they decide what they want to learn and from where they want to learn, and collaborative mode of working will make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. So we spoke about, I think, blended learning, internationalization, and now personalization of education, which is more student-centered. Dr. Raju ji, your one thing that you think will be different going forward?
Definitely, this will be a blending learning from now. Yes, student-centric education will happen. Yes, technology is will play the major role, and students definitely will now think whether specifically they will not decide about the earlier how the students and parents used to decide about the SRM or universities like that. But now, taking health point, cost point, distance point, all these things will play a major role. That's why they may decide. We can't predict how the students and parents' mind will play. Anyway, we have to be ready for both. That is blended learning. That is both will happen. That is offline and online. As I say, as Dr. Sandeep told, definitely technology will play large, but students will definitely miss a lot of things which will happen in the, they can learn a lot in the campus. But finally, the recruiters, that is placements will play, but as per their requirement, whether we can able to provide the knowledge to students is a big question.
Thank you, Dr. Raju ji. Final word with Dr. Sancheti ji. One thing that you think will be different.
I'll have to give it in 3 small parts. For institutions, the difference will be the new infra will be only electronic and IT. And that will be the playground for faculty and the students. The playground will be different. It will not be the same brick and mortar. The second thing important would be faculty, which we have not basically touched upon. In Indian context, faculty has always been doing primarily the assimilation of information and dissemination of information. We are not doing much of generation of information. Now, today, if I have to be a successful faculty and survive and get named, I'll have to generate new knowledge. And therefore, I'll have to move away from only dissemination, which was focus or assimilation. So that will be the change in the faculty. That's the second point. And the third point for the students, partly it has been answered. Everyone has said student-centric. I call it either hybrid or blended or mixed mode of learning. That's fine. I just give you the last example here. The current education system is like this pen, as you are seeing here. This is a pipeline. You enter at 0th here, and then after 3 or 4 years, you make an exit from this right now. If you don't make an exit, you are consumed by the pipe. You are no more as an academic or as a student, you have gained anything. Now this pipe was completely fixed pipe. This pipe will become highly leaky. That means you can make an entry and exit anytime, and you can change gears, change directions, change speeds, whatever you want of your life's journey. And therefore, this will be a highly student-centric system and not a fixed system. That's it.
Thank you. Thank you to all the panelists for their valuable insights. A lot of learning and takeaways from me. Thank you again to ASMA for letting us, organize this discussion. And that's the beauty of this, I think, technology, where we can have people from Chennai, Mumbai, and Bangalore, in one panel discussion. And even I think if I consider Abhishek and Chandan, then Pune as well, that and we can have a conversation, have people from around the country listening and participating. Over to you, Chandan, and my apologies to you, Abhishek, for taking longer and keeping you on hold. Thanks so much to everyone again.
I thoroughly enjoyed the discussion. Good to see Dr. Mantha again. We met few days back in an award. So good evening, sir. And we keep on meeting Dr. Sanjeti in different forums. So good evening, sir, to you too. And glad to meet Dr. Shyama as well as Dr. Shriva. I thoroughly enjoyed. So the delay is worth. So let me put it in that way.
Thanks. Thanks. Over to you, Chandan.
So can we and should we thank the cyclone as well then?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Abhishek ji. Thank you, Hemant ji. Thank you, Chandan ji, everyone. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wonderful discussion, in fact, sir. Thank you so much, Hemant, for bringing out so lovely discussion out of the thematic topic which was being decided mutually. And it would be more interactive if you can even appeal the participants who are listening over here. Kindly throw some questions on the chats. It becomes more interesting. So it will make us aware that whatever discussion is going on from this learned panelists, some sense is definitely going through. So
Yeah.
it would definitely appeal and request.
So Chandan, reading the questions in chat, and including the points in the questions.
Yes. Offline, maybe we'll be sharing that, but definitely very lovely conversations. And as we all are talking in every panel discussion, technology, digitalization, but in such a simple way where all, Sir Sancheti sir, Mantha sir, Shyama Rajuji and Sashi Pravaji has presented to the audience and to us, makes it more interesting. I was for a time being a student of my cable classroom mate. I was just listening to my learned gurus and mentors, the way difficult things can be taught in a very simple language if it touches your mind and heart. So this is the ease, sir. Where and definitely the way, Sandeep sir, you made it ease in a format of institute, then your inputs on faculty and students. So these three are the main pillars of an education. So and every aspect, in fact, NEP is also talking about the same thing. It is up to us. The onus comes up to us, to the students, to the faculties, to the teaching and the non-teaching staffs, and the leaders like you, that we are now equally responsible of how we can execute in the NEP in a much smoother and a much better way to each and every part of the country, to the tier 2 cities, even the villages. There are many good institutes, good faculties, and good students who are in the villages and the tier 3 cities. They also need to be come into the mainstream, and definitely, differently able people who are equally, a part of this mainstream. So it is A very nice and thought-provoking session. Thank you so much, all the panelists over here. And definitely, sir, the time has come, to for a collaborative learning and for a digital learning. And I'm very happy when Sandeep sir was actually, elaborating and expanding the word ASMA. So this is what we are doing, sir. Social media, adoption of social media and digital marketing is the need of the hour. We need to be very much active, and the organizations like CollPoll and Extra Edge is helping, lower the gap which is with the academicians and those who want to adopt this digital learning. Thank you so much for this lovely insights, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, sir.
Thank you.
So with this, now let me take the audience and the panelists. I would request if you can please switch off your video and if you can continue listening to what Mr. Abhishek Ballab wants to speak about Extra Edge. He's the co-founder of Extra Edge, a VC-backed marketing tech startup operating in education industry. Extra Edge leverages the power of data science and marketing automation to increase, manage, predict admissions for the education industry. He has a proven track record and in-depth product management experience in building go-to-market strategy, running product engineering and sales team, data science and data architect. Without much of time, Abhishek, I would like you to speak about what your organization is doing and how we can transform the business of education in the new era of learning. To Abhishek.
Yeah, thank you, Chandan. Chandan, am I audible?
Yeah, pretty much.
So, good evening, everyone. It's a challenge. I have a last session of the evening, so I need to be entertaining as well as creative. So I'll try to be entertaining as well as creative. So thanks for a warm introduction. My name is Abhishek, and I run a company called Extra Edge. And we, via our admission technology, help universities, B schools, and education institutes of all shapes and sizes, increase, manage, and predict their admissions. So without further delay, let me share my screen, and I will just take a few minutes to share your story. This is a story which is getting played out today, and what the story tells us, and there are lessons in the story, right? So I'll quickly share my screen. I hope my screen is visible to all of you.
Yes.
As I said, I'll promise to keep it short and creative and entertaining at the same time. So Extra Edge helps admission teams win. What I mean by that, in every university, there is a team that works day in, day night, hard, very hard to talk to the prospect students, to educate them about their brand, about their courses, about their curriculum. And Extra Edge, the software that we have, helps those counselors, admission team members, the head of admissions, and even the decision makers and stakeholders who are very closely associated with the admission process, because that's the genesis. So it's like giving birth. So admission is that genesis moment through which a new student comes into the ecosystem of a university and education institute. That's how critical it is. And Extra Edge helps teams to win and to achieve their admission outcomes. So what are we talking about? So guys, we live in a relationship economy. Let me tell you that in the wake of COVID this year, admissions will happen on the basis of relationships. The beautiful relationship that you are able to build on a phone call, on an email, on a text message, on a WhatsApp, on a video chat, on a physical meet with that parent and the student. You really need to understand that this year and probably in the next few years, being empathetic, building relationships will be very, very critical. And for that, everybody who has joined as a part of the discussion, if they're associated or know people in their admission teams will only win by understanding the student journey. The journey of that particular student, what his aspirations are, how they have reached out to them, what do they want, what do they aspire to become. And it will be more of a discussion around their outcomes, which might lead or might not lead to admissions, but that's how it's going to be, right? It needs to be non-tone deaf, it needs to be relationship. And why I'm saying that to you, why student journey becomes very critical to understand. COVID-19 has hit hard, and still education institutes are not physically open, right? So it has brought not only education institutes, but private tutoring from which a lot of students come and they prepare for getting into university admissions to grinding halt, right? And that has happened. But what has happened, this has happened all way back in Q1 and Q2. We are now starting and sitting in the end of Q3 and Q4 is starting. So what has happened? So we are hearing these kind of news is that, examination entrance got delayed. Some of the university and education institutes are still completing their last year admissions, whereas they would have started this year admissions. So things have got delayed, right? And not only COVID, but the way we interact with each other and way we build relationship during admissions has changed fundamentally. But we are also seeing positives, what the dignitaries before me were talking about. Technology is changing and acting like a positive accelerator, or as we call it, more of a force multiplier to every facets of education institutes. And the first facet of education institute starts with admissions, because that's where a student meets the brand for the first time, right? And we have seen a gradual adoption of admission technology, and probably it has been fast tracked by 10 years. So what are we talking about? What are we seeing? What we are seeing is entrance examinations got delayed, but they got completed. So CAT happened this Sunday. JEE and NEET have also got completed, and students are now applying with their marks and things like that. Also, national education policy is promoting skilling and distance education very clearly, which means that universities have different ways to engage with students. It might not be flagship 4-year UG or 2-year PG. They could offer hybrid programs. They could have MDPs or executive programs or certificate short-term programs, different ways of engaging with the students. Also, the teams are working remotely. So it might be the case that teams might not be physically in the campus. So what has happened, and that's the take that we are presenting, that if you look at the online search volume of students towards the keyword admissions has gone up considerably from June. What it fundamentally means that this year admissions or admissions for everyone will be online led, will be inbound led. Students will go ahead online and will try to discover you. Whenever this happens in an industry where your consumers try to discover you online, right, the producers or the course sellers or the universities need to be prepared for that change. They need to have the right toolkit, they need to have the right technology set to fulfill that demand, fulfill that information, and bridge that information asymmetry, right? So digital will become a very key element in admissions this year. So what I'm trying to tell you guys who are there as a part of this session listening to me, admission is changing. It's fundamentally changing, and it will go through that change going forward too. This year will be the first year where you'll see that change. And the best institutes are reinventing them in two core areas. One is how they skill, which you all know, but also how they acquire students, how they reach out to them, how they create the right messaging and personalize it for the prospects. What it means is there are a lot of macro and policy trends which are also happening. First is shift of spend towards digital and online. Print, PR, radio, newspaper will continue, but the majority chunk of the budget will shift towards that medium. A lot of you will have people in your admission team or counseling team or marketing team who are well qualified professionals who understand the nuanced concepts of Google AdWords and digital marketing, who are there, who are kind of facing this storm with their knowledge and with the toolkit. And also India's gross enrollment ratio, right, will be 5 million by 2022. So a lot of students will come out into higher education, fueled by skilling and the skilling initiative of Government of India and Minister of HRD. So people will get acquired in different courses of all shapes and sizes, right? So these are the things which is changing admissions. So expectation of students are also changing along with that. So what are those expectations? Students want that you understand their journey. They want you to be present real time. They want social engagement. They want to discover you on Google AdWords. They want to discover you on Instagram and Facebook ads. They want to discover you on your website via a beautiful chat or chatbot. They would probably ask you a question at 3 o'clock in the night after they have finished completing their gaming session. Or parents who are coming from working from home, might log on at 11 o'clock in the night and start to search for what's best at their sons and daughters' outcomes. So it has to be ubiquitous. The communication need to be right at the right time, and your teams need to be prepared to counsel and advise this new age Gen Z, or what we call millennial audience. Now, what that means to all of you, what it means to all of you is that this year and beyond, how admissions were done or how education marketing was done will fundamentally change forever. What it would mean that marketing will be where students are, admissions will be more counseling and more empathy based, brand will be across online, mobile, and social, and positioning will be across the year. So it's not that you only invest your marketing and admission resources for 3 to 4 months and your admissions will happen. No, believe me, it won't happen. Branding happens across the year, positioning happens across the year, and your counseling teams and your people who are calling, the first touch point to your prospect students, they need to be sharp, positioned, and they need to be having the right positioning in front of the students, which differentiates your brand with another brand, right? And because of this trend and because of this initiative, right, we are building Extra Edge. So Extra Edge helps admission teams acquire a win. Through our admission platform, marketing platform, and predict platform, we do 3 basic things, guys. First of all, we help you understand the student journey, every online, offline, social touch point of a student that's coming from publishers, from any other mediums. We give you a product where you can understand the journey. When you understand the journey, you are able to craft beautiful messages and beautiful positioning at the right point in time via all kinds of communication in the form of email, text, video, audio, phone call, inbound, outbound, you name it, right? You can do that today. If you are a B school, you can build your entire application workflow on a smart mobile enabled and run your entire admissions and GDP, right? So communication will become very important. That's where marketing platform comes in. And then things like, understanding a bit of what works for you and using machine learning to tell you which student is the right fit for you. Not everybody who comes to your website might take admission. So who will take admission? The answer to this question is who has already taken admission. Can we learn from your last year admission cycle and provide you that? So, understanding the whole journey will lead to outcomes. And there are some lot of these, new age or, universities we have been helping in. So a lot of universities in COVID wanted to bring their counseling teams to remote. So between 18 to 20%, we increased their conversions by universities coming from more of a remote counseling tone. We helped a lot of brands to run their complete application flow, for B schools and universities online this year. We digitized some of the universities' offline admissions completely online this year. They were offline last year. We completely moved them to online. And using tools like bots and more of machine learning based tools, we help some of the brands using tools like WhatsApp completely change how they engage and how they communicate with the prospects. We are helping more than 200 university leaders and admission teams, right, who love us because we are helping them not through our product, but because we understand, because we know what are you going through, what's happening in your teams. And I think technology alone will not cut it. We need to really understand, get into your shoes to understand what is going to happen with admissions this year and beyond, especially in the wake of COVID, right? New age tools are very critical, right from online applications, CRM, marketing, communication, all on autopilot. It does not require a human being to do those things. It will all done automatically. Video counseling will replace physical counselings and physical contact because students will feel safe doing that. And probably after that video counseling, they will be willing to come to your campus, right? So it needs to be integrated. WhatsApp will play a very critical, important role. Payments need to be one click seamless, right? And your teams who are working from home, who you need to be empathizing with today because they might have challenges of traveling, they need to be empowered on smartphones, like they're talking to their family, to talk to their prospects, to build that particular relationship with them. So the whole new toolkit, or try to understand, a new set of tools will be required to run the admissions this year and beyond, right? And that's where I end this whole discussion, that teams will require a strategy change this year. It will be more discovery, online, digital, and social. You need a complete toolkit to take this offline model to online, and you really need to engage with them, nurture them, engage, counsel them. For that, you really need to understand the journey. If you understand the journey of a consumer, you understand what they want. And if you understand what they want, you can give them what they need, right? That will be the winning, move or strategic move for this year, right? With that, you will need a complete admission platform, what Extra Edge does, right? And we help you to bring all offline, online, social touch points of your prospects, right? For your admission, outreach, marketing, counseling, digital marketing team to take the right decisions to welcome that student who might be waiting somewhere in the country to come into your institute today, right? I end with the fact that, we believe that we need to empower the entire education institute this year, and Extra Edge is empowering the admission teams, the marketing teams and outreach teams to win in 2020 and 2021 and beyond. Understanding the journey is very critical, and this is what I'm trying to tell you, that Extra Edge helps you to understand your prospect student journey, welcoming them into your campus for better learning outcomes. Thank you.
Yes, Abhishek, thank you so much for such an insightful, experience in how Extra Edge is helping us transform the admission process. And as you rightly said that the kind of job which Extra Edge under your leadership is doing, remote counseling is one of the very important factor, and the new age tool is one of the factors which has to be integrated in all the admission process of any educational institute if you talk about. So a minimum touch which is definitely required right from the inquiry of the any institute to a counseling and to selection of institute to the payment. So this entire journey from for both the sides, for in fact the person who is looking for an admissions and for a institute who is looking for a prospect. For both of them, you are a kind of a lovely bridge who can make this possible, and definitely the organizations like CollPoll and Extra Edge is there to help us transform our businesses from the traditional mode of operating to the digital and the new mode of operating. So thank you, Abhishek, for this insightful discussion you had on this day.
I just want to add one thing to. I think the most important thing, Chandan, is that we all are technology and product people. But it's very important to understand what people are going through this year, right? Because once you empathize with the problem and with what people, you will be able to offer better products and better solutions. So I think.
So if I would request anybody, the attendees, like we have 60 approx attendees over here, any question anybody wants to ask from Abhishek in this platform to understand the process of the admissions or any digital technology? He is here for a while to answer your questions. Any questions, anybody?
Yeah. So Chandan, what I've done is that I have put a link, so if people have questions later on, you can always click on a link, that's a Calendly link. I'm more than happy to have a conversation with anybody who's looking to make changes to their, admission technology processes and things like that. More than happy to take few questions here itself if there are any.
Perfect. One or two questions we more have. Shashi Prabha ma'am, are you there with us still? There is a question from an audience. If you could answer it. Shashi Prabha ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Hello, ma'am. Yeah, ma'am. There is a question in the chat box. I thought to just raise before we leave. Been asked by Mr. Usman. In case of this pandemic exceeds the maximum time expected by the various institutions of learning, what advice will you give to the institution who are concerning the courses that need physical contact with lectures, like anatomy practical, dissections, and many more?
Okay. So if it persists, if it continues even for next semester, those courses alone will conduct in the next semester, because we have the flexibility. The courses which really require the offline sessions needs to be conducted next semester. Even if it is, we are hoping that at least from January things will be all right. At least for the partly we can able to start those classes, especially for those labs and other hardcore engineering subjects alone, practical alone. We can able to make it from January. If not, That will be transferred to the subsequent semester. That's our plan.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for the answer, ma'am. I hope it answers the questions of Usman. Sandeep, sir, I may see you. Are you also there? Can I raise a question to you?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there is a question being asked by Mr. Sharan. He's asking how will the concept of digital study room work in the post-COVID era work if the classroom contains computers instead of teacher? How will that impact the education? Would universities be ready to replace teachers with digital media?
It's not a question of universities being ready. The replacement, if at all, will have to be done by the students. They will decide they would like to learn through online or offline, through teachers or through their chosen teacher or through a teacher in the neighboring institution. Though he may be doing degree in X institution, 3 courses he can do it from Y. So everything is going to be flexible and replaceable, in my opinion. And we are all going to be digital natives. People say that digital divides. I openly say that digital provides. All right, and this digital provide means we know that there is a projection, IoT devices, as we know, that by 2025 there'll be 35 billion something like IoT devices. Now these are very old projections, thereby meaning that each one of us will have at least 5 to 7 devices on our body. So whether I like it or not, this electronics will go with me in my life everywhere, not only in classes, in my bedroom, in my cinema hall, everywhere it will go. Wearable electronics is the common thing. One of the articles I have recently written, I have covered that henceforth your bags will not be bags, books will not be books, and copies will not be copies. You will only carry a foldable screen, which will be an LCD screen, which will have everything possible required to capture audio, video, display everything, have internet connectivity, and on that you can write examinations, on that you can do anything. So the life will be purely electronic, and therefore everything will be replaceable in my opinion. Good or bad, I'm not commenting, but yes, that's going to be the new change.
Right. So one more question I can see. Yeah, there's a question by anonymous attendee. He's not written name. I cannot. What would be the solution to save the manpower while filing the required formats of various bodies like NIRF and NAC, etc.? The same content is being filed several times.
This
What
is
would
for
be?
whom?
Yeah, anybody, sir, if you can
Let Madam say something. Madam did talk about NRF
Would
data
you
and
like
other
to take
things.
this question? I would repeat it. What would be the solution to save the manpower while filing?
I asked.
Yeah, ma'am, please go ahead.
So we should have some software solution for that. We should have to prepare with the industry, software industry, or with our own project team. We can formulate and we have to prepare a template with the details of the different requirements of the different stakeholders, and then we have to sit and we should normalize the table, and then finally with the eminent academicians we will discuss, deliberate, and finally we got to arrive on final template so that it will be easy for the institutions to manage this data submission process easily.
Partly, I can also say that both NBA and NAC, as an example, are capturing a lot of data on their own. That is nothing but an automation, and you don't have to do it every now and then in a very, very big way. So they are taking it regularly. And from that, I can say that all this business of sensors or IoTs or ad hoc networks, they will automatically keep capturing. Today, wherever I walk, at what speed I walk, where I paused, which is the other neighboring device whom I met, because the other person will also have a mobile, everything is traceable. And therefore, I don't have to tell where Sandeep Sancheti went. It is already on electronic record right now that I was with you for 2 hours today and everything. So that's how the automation will come in in India, it might be slightly slow in public life because we somehow challenge the technology or deny its due, and therefore we have some difficulties, but otherwise it will become better. All these ERP business now is going to be deep rooted, and one source, one database, and many actions and many controls will not make the data fuzzy or not make the data complicated, capturing and storage and processing.
There was there is a question been asked by Bala Venkata. Is the standardized model of online pedagogy necessary at the national level to ensure an effective transition to digital learner-centric education for the country as a whole?
A simple answer, education cannot be confined to a single style or form or format or requirement. Pedagogy, even in a given course by a single teacher, can change depending upon the nature of topics in that particular subject. Therefore, there's nothing called uniformity here. It's high level of heterogeneity rather than homogeneity, which is going to creep in.
Right. Thank you so much, Shashi Prabha ma'am and Sandeep sir, for answering and taking few of the questions at the very last moment. It is so kind of you, sir. Very nice gesture, and thank you so much for accepting our invitations. And you thought that this time and should be given to this session, and so, rightful justice has been done to the topic which we have selected. And I'm grateful and thankful even to the audience who has sticked up to the very last moment, though the session has taken up and shooted up more 25 minutes beyond the scheduled time. But that shows the kind of interest which people are so much keen in getting their answers being solved. So thank you so much again, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Abhishek, for enlightening us with your thoughtful knowledge about what Extra has been helping us transforming the business. And just before leaving, I would just like my backend team to show the last slide where we are again announcing the North India event, which is again focusing on digital transformation and educational institution for the new age in education. So there the topic remains the same, but again we'll be inviting many renowned institutes of North India, and the same set of eminent speakers would be there with us, helping us understand how their education institutes are doing this bit of job, and how you could get your answers from this geographic region if you want to attend this event. And in my chat box, we can also see there is a feedback form. If anybody wants to fill the feedback form, you can go ahead with this. So thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. Thank you, Sandeep sir. Thank you, Shashi Prabha ma'am. Thanks, Abhishek. I would again appeal everybody to please follow the ASMA digital handles of Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook, and be updated with all our happenings. Even you can see this event live on the Facebook channel. If you miss to see this, you may share that live link that remains active for a couple of more days. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.